Next game has a very long title, so I'm going to end up shortening it for everything here. Just for convenience sake. If I type out all of that, it's gonna be a whole thing. Get it loaded up now that I've changed over the title and everything. This is also an Inti Creates game for anybody who knows anything about them. You know this is already going to be fine. This is Kingdom's Return, Time-Eating Fruit and the Ancient Monster. You see why I leave off the Time-Eating Fruit and the Ancient Monster part? Because that's a lot of text to try to fit in. But as usual, I'm going to get up for a minute while the ad is running, because it's not like y'all are going to miss anything. And then we'll be right back to play the game. I'm looking forward to this one again. Alright. So, a couple things to note is, since this is from a fairly notable company at this point, because Inti Creates has been around for a while, this is probably the game out of today's set that's going to have the highest budget. So that's one thing to keep in mind as we go ahead with this demo. Yep, autosave and everything, yee. Solid amount of options, but not an exciting amount of options. Note the base building movement. We'll get into that as we get along. Standard sound settings. And then you have your whole control config for both keyboard and mouse and controller. All of it appears to be rebindable, which is nice. Now, we've got the data down here, but ignore that. That doesn't exist. It's not real. So you have 4 character choices. The Imperial, a female knight-type adventurer. She's a stable fighter and has high endurance, uses a shield to guard, and fights with a sword for close combat. Well-rounded in both attack and defense. The Wizard, a young magician girl-type adventurer. She specializes in ranged magic attacks and can cast buffs enhancing her own magic power. Has poor defense, so plan your strategy accordingly. The Alchemist, a young male alchemist-type adventurer. Uses chemicals to launch status ailment inflicting attacks, can also change the element associated with certain attacks. And there's Zapangu, a mature swordsman-type adventurer from a foreign land. Excels at evasion and the use of 2 swords for combo attacks. Rapidly attacks from close range consecutively. Low endurance, so strategize accordingly. we're gonna play with the alchemist because I'm curious about the element changing and everything. We'll see if we can actually get to it. But this very heavily reminds me of the systems from Dragon Marked for Death. Immediately. Which makes a lot of sense. It's a me. There you go. I was tempted by the Magician because I want to see if it works like the Dragon Marked for Death Witch. But we'll deal with that later. Or when the game comes out. There once was a world known for magic and sword fights, and fairies roamed its every corner. These fairies were akin to gods and lived among humans in this mystical tale. Our story begins in Norland, a continent made of numerous smaller countries. And in one corner of this land, there stood a kingdom, as you do, you know. Despite its remote location, it is a uniquely prosperous country, thanks to its exclusive dealings with the fairies. Careful dealing with the fae. The Kingdom of Amalcia. Here, adventurers from all over the continent come to form special pacts with the fairies, a practice said to date back to ancient times. Fairies were to help these adventurers over the course of their travels, aiding them in their battles against monsters or in exploring untrodden dungeons. Now, however, the kingdom is facing an unprecedented crisis. Having heard word of this dire situation, one brave adventurer set out for Amalcia. Is it us? Are we the adventurer? Sure are. So as you can see, we don't jump so good, but we move pretty quick, and we throw bottles that explode. That's our whole deal at the moment, is throwing exploding bottles. Thankfully, our exploding bottles are very good at repelling the enemy. We can block with our briefcase too, which is pretty funny. Gotta protect the glasses, don't want them falling off. Just what's your deal? If that's the way you're gonna be, I have a few cards up my sleeve too. Hey, wait a minute. Whoa. Seems like she's not doing so good there, so here. Let me just even the scale a little bit for you. Able to knock them back, but it doesn't seem like the fairy is able to actually remove enemies on their own. There we go. Whew. Whew, that was close. Thanks so much for your help back there. Fascinating. You know, I see quite the potential in you. You've piqued my interest. Alright, you're free to go. Say hi to my friend to me, okay? So anyway, that just kind of happened. And now we're here. Welcome to our country, adventurer. I'm Navi, Minister of the Kingdom of Amalcia. Now, I'd like to give you a quick rundown of the town, but first, as the situation only grows worse by the minute, let's go see the king for the time being. Greetings, brave adventurer. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm the King of Amalcia. I'm sure you can tell by just looking around, but just a few days ago, our kingdom met with a terrible disaster overnight. It's bad enough the castle fell into ruin, but even the town's in poor shape. To make matters worse, our fairies have disappeared as well. They play a large role in attracting international visitors to our country. Our prosperity was all thanks to our close ties with the fairies, so the nation's dignity is on the line as things stand. So, I'm here before you today to request your help in restoring our kingdom to its former glory, even though you came to me. Don't worry, we're not asking you to become a construction worker or anything. Oh, I forgot to introduce you two. This is Kronos, the Fairy of Time. She's a great fairy, one of the highest ranking members of her kind. She made an exception and has agreed to help us through this crisis. Yep, great fairy here. Nice to meet you. So as for why the kingdom has fallen into disarray, it turns out this whole area has been sent into the distant future. Not just our kingdom either. Even dungeons lying on the outskirts of our territory are affected. We don't know what caused this all exactly, but this country is the only land with relations between humans and fairies. With a disaster like this, we fairies are even losing face. I'm the Fairy of Time after all, so I can't just sit by and watch things get worse. Kinda bad for the rep, you know? It's a problem. Your aid is truly reassuring, Kronos. And with your help, dear adventurer, we're sure to be back on our feet in no time. Leave everything to me, or I'd like to say, but I'd be a little overconfident. We still don't know what caused all this. Well, I know getting stuck over the details won't help either. In any case, let's get started on repairing the castle. Okay, first things first, we need to dismantle this decrepit castle. Go to the base's top menu and select Manage Base. Looks like you found the right menu. At least you're not completely incompetent. Next, select Dismantle. You should now be able to select the building you wish to dismantle. You see the flashing cursor displayed over the kingdom's land? Now, try selecting the castle to dismantle it. Don't worry about the king and everybody that's still in there, it's fine. Kaboom! Gone. Great work. The castle's been completely dismantled. Now, while we're at it, why don't we clean up the other buildings and roads in our way? Destroy everything. Consume all. I am doing this, by the way, in case you're thinking the game is doing this automatically. No, I'm just mashing that hard right now. Consume the town. All shall be overridden by my law. There we go. Are you good for now? Then let's choose a design for our new castle. You can't change the style later, so choose carefully. So, I'm going to show you them all because you can change them as long as you don't place it. So, the Imperial Castle. Pretty standard looking castle. It's kind of lopsided, so I don't really like it that much. Want to reselect the castle design? Yeah. Wizard Castle. Pretty typical, magic circle in the top, the eyeball in front, you know, pretty standard stuff. At least it's relatively symmetrical, so it bothers me less than the Imperial one does. And of course, the Zipangu Castle is exactly what you'd expect. So, also not a bad design, but we'll be going with the Alchemist Castle because, you know, it is what our character is, and it is pretty neat. We're gonna go ahead and place the castle right here. It's not quite exactly where it was, but it looks nicer here, in my opinion. Da-da-da. Oh, it seems like the kind of castle you choose determines its area of effect over other buildings. Buildings within this area will receive special effects. Try to remember to place buildings in this area whenever you construct something. Great job. Now we're ready to get serious about restoring the kingdom. Okay. Those should be the basics. Don't mind the fact that I got closer. It's fine. Don't worry about that. By the way, do you have any preferences for the castle style, Your Majesty? Probably should have asked you that before we built the castle. As long as it gets repaired, I'm not concerned with the aesthetics. If you're sure. You want to know how I constructed the castle? If you've got a building in mind and the right materials, then you can leave the rest to me. With but a touch of my time magic, poof, the job's done. Don't ask where it came from. I totally didn't just steal it from somewhere in time. Well, we've got a lot of repair work ahead of us, so without further ado, let's do some adventuring and collect some materials. Before we head out, we'll need to find a mission to accept. We can go to the mission reception desk for that. Once you've chosen a mission to accept, it's adventure time. Not to be confused with a copywritten show. La 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 la. So now we just can do whatever we want. Like, we can go to the class circle and you can see all of the potential upgrades our class can get. Like getting paralysis flasks that we fish through our briefcase for, or burn flasks, freeze flasks. The ability to change flasks is a separate thing as well. Chemical shot, which gives us a whole, like, gun that we can use. There's also the Chemical Blaster Omega, which is a giant laser, which is pretty exciting. Some passive bonuses, puppets we can throw at things, an earth pillar to protect ourselves, slime bombs, you know, all kinds of stuff, including just pulling a Mandragora out of our briefcase for some reason. I do kind of hope that this isn't like everything you get throughout the whole playthrough, but it might be. All kinds of material items. Again, this is why I'm very much reminded of Dragon Marked for Death, for those that know what that is. It seems like it's going to be purely mission-based, and it's going to have a lot of items to collect and things of that nature. There's fairy fountains, the town, and the castle. Let's go ahead and look at the castle for a second. Okay, so the whole background ends up being impacted by the castle you picked too, probably, based on how this looks. This is odd. What's wrong? When the castle fell into disarray, I contacted the Adventurers Guild. You're the only one that showed up. It seems like there aren't any others coming. Maybe this kingdom's a bit too out of the way? Either way, you can't even offer them any compensation, so this shouldn't come as any surprise. I'd be glad even one person's willing to help. I suppose you're right. Truth be told, it is strange that only one person showed up. Could someone else have possibly interfered with things? I hope my fears are unfounded. Conspiracy. Anyway, let's actually go accept a mission now, eh? But welcome. Oh, you want to take out a mission? Yeah. So, medicinal essence. Our supply of medicine's been rendered unusable after this whole ordeal. Would you mind going into the forest in the Arca Plains and go collecting the herbs needed to make the medicine? Navi. Okay. So we get 800 gold, 2 fine timber, and all we gotta do is collect some herbs. You got it, boss. And we can just set out from here. Interesting. This is past where I stopped when I tested this, by the way. I did not actually go on my first mission. This is all gonna be new to me. Our destination this time was Arca Forest, right? We'll have to walk to the dungeon to get there. Walk straight through the plains and you can't miss it. If you don't want to wear yourself out fighting enemies along the way, feel free to avoid them. That won't be an option if you're after their materials, though. If you do accidentally enter battle, run to the very edge and you should be able to escape. There's no shame in running in when you're not prepared. The choice is all yours, though. Alright, let's get going now. Oh, I actually have full range of movement on this map. Neat. Don't mind me just walking across the rivers, through the trees, you know, I just go where I want. There it is, Arca Forest. Let's head in. Gonna have a little bit of a to-do here for first, but there we go. Into this dungeon? Yay. We made it. Seems to go pretty deep, but it's just a normal forest at the end of the day. The herbs we need for our mission should be growing around here somewhere. You'll constantly have to fight inside dungeons. Once you make it through one area or floor and move on to the next, you'll have to fight a series of battles. Now then, let's kick some enemy butt so we can get back to exploring. Alright. Got a whole bunch of things in my way here. It's fun how they explode into stars and such when they die. And the knockback's entertaining. Like, they seem to have gone out of their way to try to make this charming. It's mostly succeeding. I say mostly because I don't know how well it'll hold up long term. And this is coming from somebody who loved Dragon Marked for Death a lot. Like, I replayed that game repeatedly. There we go, this floor is done. Battle results. 21 experience, 31 money. Level up. Ah, so that must be the points I use on the class circle. We got 4 class points. Once you've taken out all the enemies, you'll be able to move to another area or floor. The herbs we want should be on this floor somewhere. Let's try looking in another area for them. Alright. I should have blown up that tree, but it's fine. We're not sticking to this reality long term, so I shouldn't really be farming material too much. This whole only having an arcing attack thing is an inconvenience for the alchemist, that's for sure. But that's pretty par for the course. They like to give you, like, some actual weaknesses to whichever class you choose. Like, the witches, for example, were very potent in Dragon Marked for Death, but were able to... They had to, like, do full combos in order to cast their spells. Like, you had to do a whole set of inputs in order to cast even your most basic of spells. just for example. And I'm assuming the magician probably has the same, or at least a similar scenario in this game. 27 experience, 63 money. Yeah, out of the main set of games for today, this is the only one that isn't technically a Metroidvania. It has a lot of aspects of it, but it's much more mission-based, so it's kind of a gray area in that regard. At least these areas are quick, but this is also the first dungeon. 30 experience, 41 money. Wood. Make sure this is still working. Yes, it is. Okay, very good. Proceeding. Ah, we just hold the button on this. Okay. Obtain the requested item, as it was just in a box. There they are. These are the herbs we need to make the medicine. This should be enough to meet the needs of the kingdom in its current state. Alright, we got our herbs, now let's head back and get to work. $800 money acquired, 2 logs in addition to all the stuff we picked up. We made it back in one piece. If we use the material we gathered from the mission, we should be able to construct some buildings for the kingdom. Why don't we try it out now? Before constructing anything, you'll need to access the Manage Base menu again. Then you'd select Construct. You'll be able to view a list of buildings suitable for the current kingdom. See, current kingdom implies that there's gonna be other kingdoms. Let's start off with building a fairy fountain. Of course, the fairy would suggest the fairy fountain first. After you selected a building to construct, choose an area to build it in. I presume I want to take advantage of the aura from the castle, so we'll put it here. You'll need money and materials to construct a building. Think you got the hang of things? You can go over more information in detail by checking the manual later. You're free to do whatever you want with construction from here on out. Let's just see to it that the kingdom makes a full recovery. As the town grows, so will your skills. Which stat you evolve depends on how you build your home base. So you should reevaluate your town development plans whenever you feel stuck. But if you focus on building up the town and neglect repairing the castle, I'm afraid you won't be reaping many benefits. Try to build up the town in a way that's proportional to the size of your castle, okay? Now that should be about it for the reconstruction details. Now let's move on to our pact. Ye shall work with me till the kingdom's plight is reversed. And done. Huh? What's with the puzzled look? Look, I had no choice. You're the only adventurer around these days. And adventurers literally only come here to form pacts with us fairies. We're supposed to help you on your journey, you know? The 2 of us are setting out on a journey to rebuild the kingdom. It only follows we form a pact, no? So no complaining. Not every day you get to buddy up with a great fairy. Let's work together to overcome this crisis, okay? Get the feeling that we got pushed into this, because I kind of get that feeling. Don't nag me about a mission. I need to acquire abilities first. Okay, so it starts from Change Flask, which makes sense because you wouldn't be able to use Burn or Freeze Flask without it, or Poison Flask for that matter. Let's take the ice flasks. I know that's not my ordinary method, but I'm wondering if it'll let me, like, turn enemies into platforms. So it might be useful. I don't know if I can do anything. Oh, no, I have access to everything. She wasn't kidding about that. We just can't actually use any of that information yet. And renovate, I presume. Yeah, I can't do anything with that right now. Can't even build a road. Consider yourself lucky for the privilege of traveling with me. You really do have a bit of arrogance to you, don't you? See what the fountain does for us. There's a bunch of treants in Arca Forest, Pollo. Nice chasing me, Pollo. Treants, you must mean those monsters that take the form of old trees. Their roots can be a pain to deal with, but they don't pose too much of a threat. You sure are smart, Pollo. There's some really big ones deeper in the forest, so be careful, Pollo. Big ones? They're still treants at the end of the day, right? Big treants can use magic. They're super scary, Pollo. Magic wielding treants, huh? That seems like a problem. Do you actually have anything useful? Huh. Uh-huh. I see. He says oink oink, folks. I see. Very useful. Very enlightening. I've learned a lot here today. You know, our kingdom nearly collapsed once in the past already. Legend goes that the restoration was made possible thanks to the countless adventurers who pitched in to help. This time we only have one. For now, at least. Don't sweat it, though. Things will work out as long as you have me around. Hey, I'm not diminishing your role either, okay? We need you, too. You'd be a great fairy and all, but I can't do everything alone. Oh, good luck out there, you two. Well, that was less than helpful. Let's see, what we got here. We got Rustling Forest and Monsters of the Plains. Both require level 2. Well, we may as well just go in order. I don't see any reason to pick one over the other at the minute. Setting out. It is nice that there's multiple people that work in the mission desk too, so you get to see a few different designs instead of always seeing the same people. Also, definitely working out better that I'm using the stick here. Ox. Charm protects you from poison, paralysis, burn, and freeze statuses. That seems useful. Anyway, it's back to Arca Forest for us. But it is nice that we can actually walk around more of the map. Ah, okay, now it's telling us all the rest of our buttons. So we have a vulnerability while we're in our box there, as you might imagine. Okay, it seems like we're at least slowing them, which is not quite what I was hoping for. I think the freeze flasks might also be slightly weaker. But they do have a bigger radius, so there's that. And yeah, these are definitely hitting harder. But if I was aiming for pure damage, it probably would have been better to have the fire flasks. Just logically. Fire tends to be better for destroying. There we go, another area cleared. 24 experience, 37 money. And level 3, so we can acquire more things. Looks like it's 4 points per level, so that's good to know. 4 points is honestly a pretty generous amount, I would say. Wait, can I? Oh yeah, you can just acquire things on the go. You don't have to go back to the town for the class circle. Let's go ahead and grab the poison flask then. Is this way when we gain our next level I can grab paralysis flask? Oh wait, no, actually I don't want paralysis flask. I thought that was how I reached chemical blaster. That is not the case. So never mind, next level we'll grab chemical shot. This way we have something new to do. I just wanted to double check to make sure I was supposed to be in Arca Forest. Next area or next... Stay in this room. Did it mention anything about where I needed to be? Just treants, so we may as well just keep going on this floor then. If we don't see any treants here, then we'll go down to the next floor. Chemical Blast, I think, is going to be something we're going to want because it's at least a forward attack for dealing with these guys that just come running at me like the boars and these club boys. 'Cause at least the blade-faced things jump at us, so we can kind of counter them with our flasks just fine. Shake the tree, shake the tree, shake the tree. Okay, those just heal me. I thought those were going to be items to pick up, not healing. The more you know. This boar is very lucky that that tree is in the way of me throwing flasks from up there, otherwise he would just be screwed. As you can see, missions and dungeons start off very simple. I wouldn't be surprised if it stays that way for a solid amount of time. Yeah, there's a bunch of treants here. I was right to move down a floor. I'm gonna keep comparing this to Dragon Marked for Death because it just seems like there's a lot of the same DNA in between the two. But in that, it took a fair while before things started getting dangerous unless you were playing at a high difficulty. You very quickly. Trying not to hit the mushroom, but the mushroom is very in the way. You'll also notice that we had like a shield effect pop up when we triggered the mushroom. That's because we are protected from that by our talisman we picked up, because it did say it protects from poison. So good thing we have that, really. If there wasn't a lot of dialogue and such to click through, I would actually go and show off the other classes instead of continuing here. But on the bright side, that gives you all something to try out for yourselves if you are so inclined. I'll be honest, I'll probably try out at least a couple of them before I move on from the demo completely. Like after stream, that is. Like most demos, when we're done with it for the day, I'm probably going to just uninstall and move on. This one, probably going to stick around for a little bit while I experiment with things to see just how excited I should be for this game coming out. And what class I'm actually going to really want to be. So obviously, you know, demos being demos, the final little skill lists and such are probably going to change a little bit. So it depends on how far along development for this game is, just how much that'll actually end up changing. All-purpose potion, and heals poison, paralysis, burn, freeze statuses, as well as small amount of hit points. I also completely forgot that we have the dash. So I actually could have like avoided the guys that were trying to close distance a lot better. But it doesn't much matter. We haven't really been in danger yet too much. So if I keep eating hits like this, we might get there. This guy doesn't seem to have figured out what was happening at all. The Alchemist really does seem like it was a very powerful choice. Ooh. Oh look, it's a fairy drop. It's a kind of fruit. Pretty tasty if you ask me. But I hear humans aren't too fond of the taste. But I feel kind of bad to just take it all for myself. I know, mind carrying it for me? I'll replenish your stock of potions in return. We can help each other out like this as we go. I mean, if you could restock my stock of potions, shouldn't you just, you know, do that because we're trying to succeed here, lady? Just a thought. You shouldn't need payment to make sure we succeed. But what do I know? I mean, I guess at the end of the day, fairy's got a fairy. That's our mission done. And a level up. So we'll actually have Chemical Blaster for the next... Oh, I got less CP that time. Stand corrected. Oh, so we turn in our stuff at the end for money. Interesting. So I don't just hang on to the charm and the potion. I guess that makes sense because keeping that charm permanently would be kind of broken, since it protects from like most status ailments. Means it's worth going and looking for things out in the field every time you go out then. So all I could do is acquire either Burn Flask or Paralysis Flask. And probably better served than just waiting for one more level to get Chemical Shot. So we have a forward defense, or grabbing Mandragora. Since that covers a very large area. Shocks all enemies on screen with a moderate chance of making them faint. I don't know if that means they'll just die from that, or if that's just like a longer stun. I don't know which way that'll go. There is an argument to be made for going for Mad Puppet or Mandragora, though, because that gets us closer to Chemical Blast or Omega. But still. I don't know why I'm thinking that far ahead to begin with, considering we may not see that. I still didn't get any iron, so I can't make any of those shops. I can make the accessory shop, though, so we can at least take a look at that. Go ahead and slap that over here. Ba-ba! In the general store as well, actually. Which gets us 4 SP. Spends all of our money, but that's fine. And now we can visit... No, I guess we can't visit those. Are they... I guess they're not real stores. They're just for buffing you, then. Huh. Was not expecting that for some reason. Okay, and you can upgrade them to get more stats out of them. It wasn't clear what the castle or the fairy fountain what renovating did because they didn't have upgrades. Now we know. And we did gain another mission, Lord of the Forest. We should be able to fit in both. Because we just have to hunt 5, so this shouldn't take long at all. Off we go. Now, admittedly, the simplified system there is probably a good idea, like not having shops to worry about and things like that. But it does shallow the depth out a little bit in some ways, so... I don't know, I have mixed feelings about that at the end of the day. Admittedly, the other side of the coin there is... I do think that there may have been, at least for some people, a little too much depth in Dragon Marked for Death, so that might be where that decision comes from. To try to, like, achieve similar things, but in a simplified form, so it's more accessible. Hard to say, really. It could very much go in many different directions. This might not even be the same team within Inti Creates. And I could just be remembering entirely wrong that that was made by Inti Creates. My brain does stupid things sometimes. I'm like 90% sure that's true. Then again, I'm also 90% sure that I'm stupid sometimes, so, you know, variations on the situation at the end of the day. Oh, just one hit was enough for at that time, huh? Okay. On the bright side, at least he got poisoned too, so I don't have to feel too bad. And I got healed, so it all worked out. I wonder if having the fairy fountain is what made him appear, because that was the guy we found in the fairy fountain. It's also interesting because you have to actually fight everything to leave. You can't just run through an area. So you can't just, like, be using the Zipangu and then use his greater agility to just zoom out of here. Which is admittedly something you could abuse in the other game a bit. Hey there, Natra, how's it going? Just playing some demos. We're currently on our second demo of the day. Actually, no, third demo of the day. I stand corrected. We did Clockwork Ambrosia. What was the title fully for the first one? Oh, yeah. Cathedral Crow's Curse. That's the one. And this is Kingdom's Return, as you can see on the screen there. You know, based on how the Twitch app goes, probably not enough. But on the bright side, I'm exploding things. Exploding things is always fun. That's genuinely surprising that 5% leads to an hour. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds much more accurate. But I appreciate that you chose to spend those 2 minutes here. Considering the amount of options out there on Twitch, that is very appreciated. Hey, Pegasus Feather. There we go, another area cleared. Basically, as far as this game goes, a kingdom was wrecked by its entire town being ripped forward in time for some reason. And we're here to fix it by making a pact with Kronos the Time Fairy. And that's basically everything that's happened in the game so far. We're just out here doing quests to try to rebuild the town. Yeah, it's definitely a unique one. You would have expected it would have been like sent backwards in time to break it, not send it forward and it breaks. It's definitely a reversal. And we're also the only adventurer that heeded the call. Which they were questioning quite a bit because this place is usually popular with adventurers, but they also lost like all their fairies in the process of everything going to hell in a handbasket, which was the main thing that was attracting people. So trade-offs, you know, it kind of makes sense that nobody would be interested in helping if there's nothing to be offered. I don't even know why we're helping, really. We're just kind of here. We heeded the call before I had any choices to make. Really, we should charge more. Yeah, probably. Because we're the hero. There also wouldn't be much of a game if we said no, so, you know. I mean, lasted longer than either of us expected it to, so there's that at least. Look at phone manufacturers making phones that last more than 5 seconds at low battery. What a time to be alive. Aha, that is solid. There we go. Marsh Whale Whisker remains a very strange name for an item. Honestly, it's fun when that's an option. Especially when it actually ends up doing something, like even if it ends up just closing the game on you. Yeah, exactly. There's a few games that pull that, and it's entertaining every time as long as they don't go overboard with it. Because you don't want to have it be like after a very long stretch of dialogue that's unskippable or something, because that's gonna be annoying. But if you hit them with it early on enough that you can reset easily, then it's just a funny haha and everybody can move on with their lives. Well, Natra's about to be gone. Wait. There's a problem with this quest. It says hunt 5, but it doesn't say hunt 5 what? I just realized that, and nothing we've fought so far has counted. I probably should just go down to the next floor after this area. It seems to typically have the thing I'm looking for be on the floor below where we start. Which, you know, makes nothing but sense. Hope you all like the sound of exploding flasks, because we're gonna be hearing that a lot. Well, let's be real here. Most of the percentages listed on phone batteries are a lie anyway. At least it's a lie in your favor this time. Of course not. Because the more you're relying on it, the worse it's gonna be. Attack drink. Raises attack by 1 stage. Neat. Anyway, you gotta circle all the way back around now. Boom, 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 boom. Kaboom. You fool, you flew right into my trap, but I also stood in his trap, so, you know, balance. I keep forgetting that those roots can reach up here. It's when it's not a solid platform that they can't reach me. There we go, there's level 5. Now we can get Chemical Blaster. You know, just a little chemical warfare as a treat. After that, we'll probably get Mandragora and start heading this way to see if we get Chemical Blaster Omega. Okay, so that one is just normal. This flask? Ice Laser, okay. And Poison Flask? Big Purple Spike, alright. I like that it's actually like a whole different thing. I was expecting just like different flavors of the blast, not completely different moves. The Torrent Fiend. I feel like I've gone awry by ending up fighting you. Ow, ow, ow. Get poisoned. So there's one fundamental question I have now, and I'm not gonna find out. You died. Okay, so you just lose the mission and have to restart it. But you at least got to keep the stuff, I think? What I was gonna question is, how do I use the healing item I picked up? And didn't get to figure that out quick enough. But you'll notice we did keep the level and everything, so really at the end of the day, that was mostly a positive. But the thing we died to is the thing for the other quest, which explains why it's a level 5 quest, because that thing was real strong. Though it seemed like we were making some solid progress on fighting it. Anything useful I can do right now? I already have an accessory shop and a general store. Street lamps and such don't seem to do anything. Oh! I am silly. I realize the mistake I made now. I misread where it was sending me. We were supposed to fight the wandering monsters on the plains themselves. So we do 5 of these fights. I read well sometimes, and then there's times like today where I just didn't read at all. It is interesting that it kept the flask I switched to. That does a lot of damage. Get wrecked. I kind of want to see what the ice laser does, though. Like, just in terms of how effective it is. Hold that thought. Hey, I said hold that thought. Very rude. Okay, it does less damage, but has longer reach than the main shot is basically the bit there. Okay, that makes sense. Freeze, please. No. This is clearly how you get stone blocks to build paths. It's just ripping your way through these and breaking the boxes along the way. More timber this way too, probably. Got nets. Another one done. Okay, let that be a lesson. Don't just spam through the menus and not actually look at them when it comes to selecting missions. Because otherwise you'll have problems like I did, where I don't know what I'm doing. Not that I know what I'm doing on a good day anyway, but you know. It does get a lot more satisfying once you have more than just one move, I gotta say. It is unfortunate, though, that we can only fire our chemical shot when we're on the ground, so we can't actually, like, jump and shoot that. But I get why, because some of the shots we have with that would be very powerful shot from the air. Like being able to just eat the spike shot across the map and such. But all things considered, with what we're fighting so far, I'm not finding too many reasons to use the elemental shots that much. Like, maybe in group play it would start to matter more. Though, thinking about it, I don't actually know if this is multiplayer or not. I didn't actually check. We'll check as soon as we get off this screen. That's something I didn't think about. I just expected it to be multiplayer based on the previous one. No, this is purely single player, at least from the listing that's there. Huh. Also, something this probably would remind people of as well is ActRaiser, considering its side-scrolling stages and city building combined. Slightly too slow. Thankfully, this is the last fight we have to do, so as long as I don't balls this up too badly, we're good to go. There we go. I could make a play for getting to the boss fight to try that again. It's gonna be tight timing, but we might be able to make it happen. Especially if I just go for it straight away. Because we didn't gain a level, right? No, we did not. Go to the forest. Let's do it. See if I can rush to the boss fight and not get wrecked again. He says, knowing full well that he's just gonna get his shit pushed in. Pardon me, gentlemen. Let me take a peek over here. Is there a chest here every time? There is not. Okay. Dungeon over there. I'm kind of curious to poke my nose into a different dungeon too, but we don't have time for that. Negation potion. Heals attack down, defense down, mine down statuses, as well as a small amount of HP. Less helpful than it could have been. It looks like the area around doesn't have anything we particularly need. I wonder if it would even let me in the other dungeon. It'd be very funny if it's just like, oh yeah, you want to go in here? Sure. It's gonna end poorly for you, but you know, you do you. slight delay on chemical shot is about the only weakness it has, really. Since he has to take the time to pull the blaster out and everything. Let's just rush to the next floor. I assume that'll get me to the boss faster. There we go, away with you. I got poisoned, but it didn't matter because I knew that guy was right there. So it's like, nah, we can just take the poison, it'll be fine. I really need to work on my timing for dodging those spikes. But it doesn't much matter. Next floor. I presume going down as far as I can is going to be how I get to the boss fight. We just kind of ended up there a little bit ago. And we didn't go... Actually, I think next area still takes you down a floor once you get far enough along. So more than likely, we ended up on, like, floor 4 without even really noticing. Which y'all probably noticed more than I did on that one, because I wasn't looking. I was just going. And keep eliminating targets here, left and right. Might also be that you have to do a certain amount of combat stages before they let you go to the boss. That's always possible. Fairy drop. How do I use my potions and things? Don't actually know. Because you would think it'd be in items, but it's not. We don't have any skills to put on those buttons. Thing to note, by the way, I can't actually see the very bottom of my screen because it's covered by the taskbar. I see a Q. Ah, left trigger. That's literally completely covered by my taskbar, so I had to look at my... Oh, so there's just a healing potion in there too. Okay. That explains the potion that she said she would restock. That's why I was questioning it. There's the boss. So yeah, his health bar is also completely obscured for me, for those wondering. Okay, I was like, that's a neat trick and all, but I'm not getting pulled in or anything, so I don't know what your goal here is. But heal up, because that should guarantee us victory pretty much here. Now, there is a limit to my chemical blaster, as it turns out. It drains the mana bar up there, which makes nothing but sense in hindsight. I have made a very, very grievous tactical error here. I was really hoping to end this fight before the ads happen, but it's not looking like that's gonna work out. How much health do you have? I'll be stunned. Made a tactical error once again, but you know what? Just gonna keep firing. Yep, he's yelling. Forest Rage. I'm gonna assume that's an almost dead thing, or Or this is a you took too long, I'm pissed situation. Remember, I can't see his health bar. Okay, we're almost there. I had to pause so I could look at OBS to be able to look at the health bar because of the taskbar in the way that I mentioned. We're almost there. Got him. So, right when the ads came in, he died. So, you know what? That's good enough for me. Sparkles. Great success. 500 and 500, so we get to level 6. We unfortunately aren't going to get to see the big laser, but that's okay. It looks like that didn't do anything special either. Records is how you save, in case anybody was wondering. Did that oh, that did open the other dungeon. So the demo itself is not done yet, but we are done with the demo for today. I'm gonna go ahead and prompt y'all about the page again, so if you want to wishlist it, it's right there. I, for one, definitely will be, but that's to be expected, all things considered. We are now 3 hours in, having done 3 demos. As usual, while the ad is running, I'm going to get everything swapped around. Game. Let's see. We've gone through most of the ones I intended to do, but I still have plenty more where that came from. Now, this one's a particularly interesting one. Like, this one, I wasn't entirely sure what I was getting out of this one. But it's very aesthetically cool. And it plays very uniquely compared to the other ones we've done so far.